நீங்கள் பார்த்து கொண்டிருப்பது உங்கள் RSKV யூடியூப் சேனல்.
Income Tax Officers Exam 2022 Part 3 Allied Laws. Question 1. The Companies Act 2013 applies to A. Companies incorporated under this act or under any previous company law. B. Insurance companies except those with provisions inconsistent with the Insurance Act 1938 or the IRDA Act 1999, and banking companies except whose provisions are inconsistent with the Banking Regulation Act 1949, companies engaged in the generation or supply of electricity except whose provisions are inconsistent with the Electricity Act 2003. All the above. Answer. Question 2. As per Section 52 of the Companies Act 2013, the balance in the security premium account cannot be utilized for payment of dividend. Question 3. Every company shall at first annual general meeting appoint an auditor who shall hold office from the conclusion of that meeting till the conclusion of its 6th annual general meeting, and thereafter till the conclusion of every 6th meeting. Question 4. Serious fraud investigation officer is established and governed under the Companies Act 2013. Question 5. Does the Companies Act 2013 apply to foreign companies? Only when not less than 50% of the paid up capital of the company is held by one or more citizens of India by one or more body corporated in India or in combinations of both, whether singly or in aggregate. Question 6. Government company means any company in which not less than 51% of the paid up share capital is held by the central government or by any state government or governments, or partly by the central government and partly by one or more state governments, and includes a company which is subsidiary company of such a government company. Question 7. Which of the following cannot contribute an amount directly or indirectly to any political party? A government company or a company which has been in existence for less than 3 financial years. Question 8. If XYZ is the holding company of P&R Limited, then which of the following statement is not true in this regard? A. XYZ Limited controls the composition of board of P&R. B. XYZ Limited holds more than 50% of the nominal value of the equity shares. C. Both A and B. D. None of the above. Answer D. None of the above. Question 9. A company of any class registered under Companies Act may convert itself as a company of other class under that act in accordance with the provisions of the chapter by alteration of memorandum and articles of the company. Question 10. Debentures issued by a company carry voting rights. Answer. The above statement is false. Question 11. What is the punishment for an individual or director of a company if any of the provisions of sections 139 to 146 is contravened? Imprisonment for a term which may extend to 6 months and fine up to rupees 1 lakh. Question 12. The time period specified to file the return statement after some months to the defendants under Order 5 Rule 1 is within 30 days. When service of summons in person on defendants is not possible, then which of the following shall not be deemed as good service? Service on servant of defendant. Question 14. A commissioner who is not a judge of a civil court is not competent to impose penalties under Order 26 Rule 17. The above statement is true. Question 15. Under Order 26 Rule 18, in spite of the directions of court, if all or any party to the suit do not appear before the commissioner may proceed in their absence. Question 16. A person who is summoned to produce documents is entitled to produce the document without being personally present under Order 16 Rule 6. The above statement is true. Question 17. Which of the following statement is incorrect? Power of review is same as the power of appeal, which enables the appellate court to correct all errors committed by a subordinate court. This statement is incorrect. Question 18. The application for review of a judgment may be made on any of the following grounds. A. Discovery of new and important matter or evidence. B. Mistake or error apparent on the face of record. C. Any other sufficient reason. Answer D. All are correct. Question 19. Which of the statement is false? False. The affidavit is a declaration made by a person and must state point of law. Question 20. Which of the following is true? A. When it is not in consonance with natural justice. B. When defendant is condemned by unheard (adi alteram partem). C. When summons are not served on defendants. Answer D. All of the above. Question 21. Under CPC suits with reference to immovable property, where entire relief sought can be obtained through personal obedience of the defendant, can be instituted in a court within whose local jurisdiction A. the property is situated. B. the defendant voluntarily resides or carries on business. C. the defendant voluntarily resides or personally works for gains. D. Answer D and all of the above. Question 22. A sues B for recovery of possession of certain immovable property. The defense is that B is the full owner of the property. Pending the suit, B is adjudged insolvent and his estate vests in the official assignee because the order of adjudication operates as a statutory transfer of the interest of the insolvent in the subject matter of the suit to the official assignee. Question 23. Where an appeal from any order is allowed and such order is made by a court in the exercise of appellate jurisdiction, then appeal shall lie to High Court. Question 24. Which of the following are necessary conditions for becoming a Karta of a HUF? Answer. Candidate must be a married male member of the Hindu joint family. Question 25. Mr. X is a Hindu and has two sons, Y and Z. Elder son Y falls in love with a Muslim girl and converts to Islam and marries her and is blessed with a daughter. Mr. X dies intestate. Can Y claim his share in the property of his late father? Yes, he can. His subsequent change of religion is immaterial in this matter. Question 26. Mr. X, a Hindu, his wife Mrs. X, and their two unmarried major sons A and B form a HUF, where X is a Katta. Mr. and Mrs. X adopt another son C and declares him as a co-partner in the HUF. The biological sons A and B oppose this. In this context, which of the following statements is correct? The adopted son C has equal rights as that of natural born sons A and B. Therefore, C can become co-partner in the HUF of his adopted family. Question 27. After the commencement of the Hindu Succession bracket Amendment Act 2005, no court shall recognize any right to proceed against a son, a grandson, or a great grandson for the recovery of any debt due to his father, grandfather, or great grandfather solely based on the ground of pious obligation under Hindu law of such son, grandson, or great grandson to discharge such debt. In the above statement, true. Yes, it is true. To question 20, Mr. X and his two sons, Y and Z, are co-partners in a HUF and Mr. X is a Kata. The HUF owns 3 shops in Commercial Street, Bangalore and earns rental income of rupees 21 lakhs per shop per month. The co-partners XYZ decide to dissolve the HUF and get 1 shop each under a total partition of HUF. Since the ownership of the shops has changed from that of the HUF to the individual, why the AO assesses long-term capital gains in the hands of the HUF. It determines the current market value of the shops as per stamp valuation authority and after deducting the indexed cost of acquisition and improvement arrives at the long-term capital gains of rupees 5 crores in the hands of the HUF. Which of the following is correct? The AO is not correct since any capital asset received on total or partial partition of assets of the HUF is not considered a transfer under Section 47 of the Income Tax Act 1961. Question 29. Which of the following statement is correct? Shridan means property owned by a Hindu woman over which she has absolute ownership. On this subject, the established judicial view is that whatever gifts and articles, including gold, ornaments, clothes, etc., are given to a woman in marriage would be regarded as her absolute property as per Sridan and she enjoys complete control over it. This statement is correct. Question 30. A Hindu male X and his two married sons Y and Z constitute a HUF wherein X is the Karta. Mr. X passes away and his elder son Y becomes the Karta of the HUF. The widow of the X demands partition of the assets of the HUF. Which of the following is correct? No, widow of X cannot demand partition since she is only a member of the HUF and not a co-partner, and only a co-partner can demand partition of the assets of the HUF. Question 31. Mr. X, a Hindu is married and has two major unmarried daughters. On the demise of the father, Mr. X inherits a residential property which was the self-acquired property of his late father. Later, Mr. X also expires and his widow sells the residential house. In this context, which of the following is correct? The long-term capital gains should be assessed 1/3 each in the hands of Mrs. X and the two unmarried daughters. Question 32. Mr. A and his two married sons B and C constitute a HUF wherein A is the Karta. Both B and C are married and while B has two major sons, C has one minor daughter. C applies for PAN for his HUF which comprises of himself, his wife and his minor daughter. His PAN application is rejected by the authorized officer citing the reason that there cannot a HUF within a HUF. Which of the following is correct? No, the PAN is incorrectly rejected since there can be a HUF within a HUF as per Hindu law. Question 33. As per Section 8 of the Hindu Succession Act 1956, which of the following relatives of a male Hindu dying intestate are included in Class 1 of the schedule? Daughter of predeceased son, 2 daughter of predeceased daughter, widow of a predeceased son. Fourth, daughter of a predeceased son of a predeceased son. All above are correct. Question 34. Which of the following kinds of property can be held by a Hindu undivided family? A. Ancestral property, that is, property inherited by a Hindu from his father, father's father, or father's father's father. 2. Common pool of property made by the individual members of the family. Third, property purchased from the proceeds of the sale of joint family property. 4. Property acquired by the family through a will or by way of a gift. All the above are correct. Question 35. Which of the following statement is true about adultery? Adultery is a ground for divorce and under Hindu law. Question 36. An agreement enforceable by law at the options of one or more but not at the option of others is a voidable contract. Question 37. According to Section 2 of the Indian Contract Act 1872, a person is said to make a proposal when one person signifies to another his willingness to do or to abstain from doing anything with a view to obtaining the assent of that other to such act or abstinence. Question 38. Every promise and every set of promises forming the consideration for each other is called as an agreement. Question 39. Consent is defined as two or more persons are said to consent when they agree upon the same thing in the same sense. Question 40. If the consent was caused by misrepresentation or by silence, fraudulent within the meaning of section 17, the contract nevertheless, if the party whose consent was so caused had the means of discovering the truth with ordinary diligence, is not voidable. Question 41. What is a sound mind for the purposes of contracting? A person is said to be of sound mind for the purposes of making a contract if at the time when he makes it, he is capable of understanding it and of forming a rational judgment as to its effect upon his interest. Question 42. An erroneous opinions as to the value of the things which forms the subject matter of the agreement is not to be deemed a mistake as to a matter of fact. Question 43. A contingent contract is a contract to do or not to do something if some event collateral to such contract does or does not happen. Question 44. A is a lady singer who contracts with B, the manager of a theatre, to sing at his theatre for 2 nights in every week during the next 2 months, and B engages to pay her 100 rupees for each night performance. On the 6th night, A willfully absents herself from the theatre, and B is consequence resigns the contract. Answer. B is entitled to claim compensation of the damage which he has sustained through the non-fulfillment of the contract. Question 45. An advertisement in a newspaper for sale of goods by auction A amounts to an invitation to offer. Question 46. Which one of the following statement is true? An offer can be revoked but acceptance cannot. Question 47. A convict when undergoing imprisonment is incapable of entering into a contract. Question 48. R entered into a contract with L to marry her on a fixed date. However, before the marriage date, R went mad. With reference to the Indian Contract Act, which is the valid response, the contract becomes void. Question 49. Which one of the following has the correct sequence? Offer, acceptance, consideration, contract. Question 50. Authentication of any electronic record by a subscriber by means of an electronic method or procedure in accordance with the provisions of Section 3 of Information Technology Act 2000 is known as digital signature. Question 51. Which section of Information Technology Act 2000 deals with the punishment of cheating by impersonation by using computer resource? Section 66D. 66D. Question 52. The authentication of the electronic record shall be effected by the use of asymmetric crypto system, two hash function, both. Question 53. If any person dishonestly or fraudulently, without permission of the owner of or any other person who is in charge of a computer system or computer network, destroys, deletes, or alters any information residing in such a computer resource, he shall be punishable with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 3 years or fine which may extend to 5 lakh rupees or with both. Question 54. Under Information Technology Act 2000, which one of the following constitutes identity theft? Making use of electronic signature, passwords, or any other unique identification feature of any other person. Question 55. Which one of the following is not a compoundable offense under the Information Technology Act 2000? 1. Offenses with imprisonment for a term exceeding 3 years. 2. Enhanced punishment due to previous conviction. 3. Offenses affecting the socio-economic conditions of the country. All the 3 are correct. Question 56. Under which section of Information Technology Act 2000 the case can be registered for credit cards fraud and internet fraud in India? Section 66C and 66D. Question 57. Which of the following act is not amended by the Information Technology Amendment Act 2008? Income Tax Act 1961. Question 58. As per Section 13(13) of the Information Technology Amendment Act 2008, the time of dispatch or receipt of an electronic record shall be determined as follows, namely: 1. The dispatch of an electronic record occurs when it enters the computer resource outside the control of originator. The receipt occurs at the time when the electronic record enters the computer resource designated by the addressee. Third, the receipt occurs at the time when the electronic record is retrieved by the addressee if the computer resource is not designated. All the 3 above are correct. Question 59. As per Section 12 of the Information Technology Amendment Act 2008, which one of the following statements regarding methods of acknowledgement of receipt of electronic record is not correct? Out of above statements, A and B are true. A. If the originator has not agreed that acknowledgement of receipt of electronic record be given in a particular form of method, an acknowledgement may be given by any communication by the addressee, automated or otherwise. B. If the originator has not agreed as above, A. An acknowledgement may be given by any communication by any conduct of the addressee sufficient to indicate to the originator that the electronic record has been received. Question 60. As per Section 65 of the Information Technology Amendment Act 2008, the act of cyber terrorism includes: A. The conduct with the intention to threaten the unity, integrity, security, or sovereignty of India or to strike terror in the people or any section of people. B. Causing or likely to cause death or injuries to person or damage to or destruction of property or disruption of supplies or services essential to the life of the community. C. Knowingly or intentionally penetrating or accessing without authorization the computer resource or computer database that is restricted for reasons of the security of the state or foreign relations. All of the above are correct. Question 61. As per Section 69A of the Information Technology Amendment Act 2008, the government can cause directions for blocking public access to any information through any computer resource under the following conditions. A. In the absence of sovereignty and integrity of India. B. The interest of foreign relations with foreign states. C. To maintain the public order. Answer D. All of the above. Question 62. The dispatch of an electronic record occurs when it enters a computer resource outside the council of originator. Question 63. On attaining the majority, the minor partner has to decide and give a public notice within the prescribed period whether he will continue as partner in the firm or will quit. What is that prescribed period? Within 6 months of his attaining majority or of his obtaining knowledge that he had been admitted to the benefits of partnership, whichever date is later. Question 64. Which of the below statement is correct in relation to settlements of joint debts due from the firm and also separate debts due from any partner? A. The property of a firm shall be applied in the first instance in payment of debts of the firm, and if there is any surplus, then the share of each partner shall be applied in payment of his separate debts. B. The separate property of any partner shall be applied first in the payment of debts of the firm, and the surplus, if any, in the payment of separate debts of that partner. Both A and B are correct. Question 65. Where the partnership deed is silent, which of the following statement is not correct? A partner making for the purposes of the business any payment or advance beyond the amount of capital he has agreed to subscribe is entitled to interest thereon at the care rate of 10% per annum. Question 66. What is the liability of a retiring partner after the date of his retirement? He and the partner continue to be liable as partners to the third parties for any act done by any of them, which would have been an act of the firm if done before the retirement, until public notice is given of the retirement. Question 67. A partnership for which no period or duration is fixed under the Partnership Act 1932 is known as partnership at will. Question 68. The liability of partners for the acts of the firm, joint and several. Question 69. Which of the following is false? Partners are not bound to carry on the business of the firm to the greatest common advantage. 2. Where a partner is entitled to interest on capital by him, such interest shall be payable whether or not there are profits. 4. A partner may be expelled from the firm only with consent of all other partners. All the above 3 statements are false. Question 70, which each of the partner is principal as well as agent. Question 71. Which of the following is not an essential requisite for creating a partnership as per Section 4 of the Partnership Act? Sharing of losses. Question 72. On dissolution of the firm, the partners remain liable until public notice is given. Question 73. Which of the type of partnership is not covered by the Indian Partnership Act 1932? Limited liability partnership. Question 74. The ceiling on maximum number of partners on a firm is laid down in the Companies Act 1956. Question 75. In which of the following cases partnership does not exist? A. Seller of goodwill for receiving profits. B. Lender of money receiving profit. C. Widow or child of a deceased receiving profits. 4. Servant or agents receiving remuneration. All of the above. Question 76. As per Section 7/9 of RTA Act 2005, information shall ordinarily be provided in the form in which it is sought unless it would A. Disproportionately divert the resources of the public authority. B. Would be detrimental to the safety or preservation of the record in question. Both A and B are correct. Question 77. If the information sought under RTA Act 2005 concerns the life or liberty of a person, the same shall be provided within 48 hours of the receipt. Question 78. If extra fee is requested by the CPIO, the period intervening between the dispatch of the said intimation and payment of fees shall be excluded for the purpose of calculating the period of 30 days. Question 79. With reference to RTA Act, which of the following is competent authority? The Chief Justice of High Court in the case of a High Court. Under 80. Question 80. Under RTA Act 2005, which of the following statements are correct? 1. Information, the disclosure of which would cause a breach of privilege of Parliament can be denied. 2. Information, the disclosure of which would cause a breach of privilege of state legislature can be denied. 1 and 2. Both are correct. Question 81. Which of the following statements are true? When information sought for is in respect of allegations of human rights violations by security agencies, it shall only be provided after the approval of Central Information Commission. Question 82. If the public information officer fails to give information to the informant within the period specified under the RTA Act 2005, it is called deemed rejection. Question 83. The Central Information Commission falls under which ministry? Ministry of Personnel. Question 84. Information received in confidence from foreign government is exempt from disclosure. True. Question 85. The provision relating to suo motu, disclosure relating to obligations of public authority is contained in Section 4 of RTA Act. Question 86. If information sought has been supplied by third party or is treated as a confident by that third party, the third party must be given a representation before the PIO in reply to the notice issued to him within dash days from the date of receipt of such notice. 10 days. Question 87. Which of the following statement is not correct? The stipends allowed to military and civil pensioners of government cannot be transferred. This statement is not correct. Question 88. Under the provisions of Section 7 of the Transfer of Property Act 1882, the competent person to transfer means 1. Every person competent to contract only. 2. Every person entitled to transferable property or authorized to dispose of transferable property. Both 1 and 2 are correct. Question 89. Oral transfer of property is permissible under Section 9 of the Transfer of Property Act 1882. in all cases in which a writing is not expressly required by law. Question 90. Which of the following examples represent a valid restraint as per Section 10 of the Transfer of Property Act 1882? A condition in the lease agreement that the lessee shall not sublet or assign the leasehold property. Question 91. Under the provisions of the Transfer of Property Act 1882, where immovable property is transferred for consideration by persons having distinct interest therein, the transferors are entitled to share proportionately to the value of their respective interests. Question 92. Within the meaning of Section 48 of the Transfer of Property Act 1882, if different rights over the same immovable property were created at different times and such rights cannot be fully exercised together, the right created later are subject to the rights previously created. Question 93. Ravi lets his flat to Ram at the rent of rupees 5,000 and then transfers the flat to Kamal. Ram, having no notice of the transfer, in good faith pays the rent to Ravi. Which of the following statements are correct? Kamal cannot charge rent to Ram again. Question 94. In order to attract the mischief of the doctrine of fraudulent transfer, which of the following conditions required to be satisfied? A. The property must be immobile in nature only. 2. The transfer must be for consideration. 3. The intention behind the transfer must be to delay or defraud creditors. 4. Delay or defeat must be suffered by creditors. All the 4 are correct. Question 95. Which of the following conditions need to be satisfied for avoiding protection under Section 53A of the Transfer of Property Act 1882? A. There should be a contract for transfer of immovable property in writing and the same should be signed by the transferor. B. The contract is in the nature of transfer for consideration. C. The transferee should has taken possession of the property and has done something for the furtherance of the contract. 4. The transferee is ready and willing to perform his part of the contract. All of the above are correct. Which of the following are the characteristics of a charge? 1. It may be created both by an act of parties or by operation of law. 2. It can exist both on movable as well as immovable properties. 3. It is not possessory in its nature. 1 and 3 are correct. 1. It may be created both by an act of parties or by operation of law. 3rd, it is not possessory or in its nature. Question 97. According to Section 6 of the Transfer of Property Act 1882, the following properties may be transferred. A. A right to future maintenance in whatsoever manner arising secured or determined. B. A mere right to sue. C. An interest in property restricted in its enjoyment to the owner personally. Answer: all 3 kinds of properties may not be transferred. Question 98. X is the Mahant of Y Mutt and decides to transfer the right of management of the Mutt's affairs which are vested in him to Z, and thereafter Z becomes the new Mahant. Answer: X cannot transfer the rights of management of the Mutt's affairs as it is prohibited by Clause D of the Section 6 of the Transfer of Property Act 1882. Question 99. To constitute a valid contract for sale of immovable property, the following elements must be present. The consideration for transfer of ownership must be in lieu of price paid or promised to be paid, or part paid and part promised. Then transfer in the case of tangible immovable property involving a value of below rupees 100 may be made by delivery of the property. A contract for sale of immovable property by itself does not create any interest in or charge on on such property. All the three statements are correct. Question 100. The following characteristics are true about a gift transaction as contained in section 122 of the Transfer of Property Act 1882. Gift transaction is made voluntarily without consideration by the donor or donee, and acceptance by the donee must be made during the lifetime of the donor and while he is still capable of giving.